A big Switch 2 exclusive that people aren't quite talking about right now because there's just so much mystery surrounding the game is the Duskbloods, and apparently that game is still set for 2026, so we're going to talk about that in addition to From Software's Elden Ring for the Nintendo Switch 2 that was rough in 2025, but seemingly is all fixed up now at this point. We've also got big updates when it comes to Final Fantasy and the future and what Square Enix plans to do to entice new people to jump in. We've also got big updates on Yoshi and a game that actually dethroned Pokemon Pokopia after 2 months. It's pretty crazy to see what's happening there and a bit more to talk about. But before we continue on, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2. All you have to do to enter is hit that subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed and drop a comment below. We are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 once we hit 150,000 subscribers, and it will be random. So the more that you actually comment and interact, the better chance that you have to win. Hit that like button, click that notification bell, and let's go ahead and jump right back into it. Kadokawa has reconfirmed that the Duskbloods and Elden Ring are set for the Nintendo Switch 2 in 2026. Kadokawa, for those who don't know, they're the ones who own From Software. From Software works with so many different developers out there, but their parent company is actually Kadokawa Corporation. So they told investors that the long-awaited Elden Ring Tarnished Edition and the Duskbloods are still on track worldwide for 2026 on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, we haven't really heard too much information on the Duskbloods. We did see some updated gameplay handheld mode for Elden Ring Tarnished Edition. There was some pre-orders that went live. It does come with all the DLC and some exclusive classes and weapons or something like that, but that does seem like it's going to play better than what it was in 2025 when it was supposed to launch. Then it got delayed, so I'm guessing that's going to be some type of summer-ish, fall type of release. And then the big one is the Duskbloods. This is the game that everyone is very curious about because From Software has obviously a huge following online. There are millions upon millions of people who love From Software's games and will pretty much go anywhere where those games are. Now, the thing though with this game, this is one of those PvE, PvP type of games, so it's not a typical single player adventure like Bloodborne or Dark Souls 3 or Sekiro or something that usually does the best from Software, where it can really sell upwards of 5-10 million units, even up to 20 million with Elden Ring. The Duskbloods is not that. It's a multiplayer game, more on the line of maybe potentially Elden Ring Night Rain. Now, it might be more in depth than that, and we need to see what other modes or what other things that are in there. But right now, there's a lot of mystery. But if this game is actually good, that's going to be a huge boost to Nintendo's 2026 lineup. From Software is not known for putting out anything relevant when it comes to Nintendo platforms in the recent age. Pretty much they've been Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, and that's where they've made all of their millions upon millions of dollars over the years. And of course, Game of the Year from the Keighley Awards and many other places for games like Sekiro, in addition to Elden Ring. So I do feel that this is a unique opportunity, but I can't help but feel a bit skeptical just because of the online nature of the game. How long is the online going to be there? Are there going to be people that actually want to play this online with others? How's the structure of it? Can you go in single player wise? Is there going to be a story that kind of connects? What's happening with this world? How big is the world going to be? Like, these are all questions right now that make me think we have to just wait and see, because if this game does end up being something that's even a fraction as popular as Elden Ring, I think it can actually be a system seller for a small core group of From Software fans. Maybe a couple million here and there say, okay, this is the game that's going to get me to go out there and buy a Nintendo Switch 2 this fall, because I'm anticipating this game is going to be a fall type of title. Probably Elden Ring Tarnished Edition for summer-ish, and then this game's going to be fall as a big title to position itself in the holiday for core gamers. So that's the thing, because you obviously have to get the game, then you also have to get the Nintendo Switch Online. Switch Online is cheaper when it comes to it compared to other platforms, but you still have to do that. And there's a lot of From Software fans that play pretty much on PC, so they're not used to doing that at all. So this has to be a good value proposition, gameplay proposition, controls, combat. Everything here needs to be solid for the From Software fans to move over and buy this. And right now, I don't know how many of these people have Switch 2 at this point. I'm pretty sure there's some crossover with the Nintendo Switch 2 players right now, but I think that there's still a large number that are going the wait and see route with this. So we'll have to find out in 2026. Maybe we'll get a Nintendo Direct coming up here where they detail more about what you can expect. We've only seen one trailer, and that's pretty much it when it comes to the gameplay. But from what they've shown, graphically, it looks pretty good for the most part. So we'll see what happens with the actual gameplay and structure of it when they give us more information. So what do you guys think about what Kadokawa Corporation had to say about the Duskbloods and Elden Ring Tarnished Edition still hitting the Switch 2 in 2026? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, let's talk about Final Fantasy, because the Final Fantasy Remake director realizes that they need to expand and grow the Final Fantasy brand. They've been in a decline for the last number of years, and there's many reasons for that, but they are aware of the problem and they are actively trying to do things in order to make the brand more popular. For example, making Final Fantasy, major Final Fantasy multi-platform, with Final Fantasy 16 going to PC and Xbox, and maybe even potentially Switch 2. And of course, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, the trilogy, all coming to Switch 2, PC, and Xbox. And it does seem like the Remake Part 3 will be a multi-platform release. So let's talk about this a little bit here. Nintendonews has published a new interview with Naoki Hamaguchi, the lead developer behind the ambitious Final Fantasy 7 Remake trilogy. Mr. Hamaguchi says he is aware that they need to grow the potential of Final Fantasy, and they're looking to do that. Quote, here was the question first. Now that the trilogy is nearing its conclusion, do you already have an idea of what kind of game you'd like to create next? Would you prefer to continue with Final Fantasy or explore something completely new? Here's what Mr. Hamaguchi had to say. Quote, we are constantly updating our vision on what kind of experiences we can offer next. As the Final Fantasy VII Remake project nears completion, I want to meet the expectations of fans who desire even more depth in this world and its characters. At the same time, I am very aware of the need to consider how we can expand the potential of the Final Fantasy franchise as a whole for the next generation. On the other hand, as the creator of these works, if there is a demand for new and unique experiences that differ from what we have done so far, I am also eager to face those challenges. While I may not be able to do everything at once, I'm not only a game director, but I'm also head of one of the studios within Square Enix. Looking ahead, the number of projects I oversee as the head of studio will likely increase. Regardless of the form they take, I will continue to deliver engaging experiences to the game fans who have high expectations of both me, Naoki Hamaguchi, and the works of my studio. That commitment will not change. So there you go. He's talking about what they're potentially going to do next. They do want to make sure that Final Fantasy continues on and do something different and reach different audiences and potentially even be very different from what we've saw before. Could they go back to turn-based gaming? I think that's a possibility. If you look at what happened with Expedition 33, you look at kind of the turn-based RPGs that have been having a lot of success, and I think that Final Fantasy has a potential. There could be something there to where they do kind of go back. They've got the production budget. They've got the team. They've got everything in line to make something that's super compelling as a turn-based RPG to a lot of fans out there. And with the Nintendo Switch 2, in addition to having multi-platform now with PlayStation, you can really push that and say, okay, there'll be enough people that will buy or like turn-based style of games. You don't have to worry about the demographic of just one base like they've done with PlayStation and thinking, okay, well, people want more of an action RPG on that system. You can pretty much put out something and be confident that there will be a niche or a market for that in the millions for multiple different platforms with PlayStation, with Nintendo Switch 2, and with Xbox and PC. On top of that, you look at Expedition 33 and how well that game has done. So it's definitely there for them if they're going to go that route. So we'll see what they have to do. And I'm looking forward to, of course, Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. Looking forward to seeing exactly how the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Nintendo Switch 2 port turns out when that launches in June. And of course, the future of Final Fantasy. So what do you guys think when it comes to what Mr. Hamaguchi had to say here? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the next topic here. Let's talk about Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, because we have a brand new gameplay trailer. It's called An Appetite for Discovery, and it's interesting because this game, based on the previews, even Switch Up, one of the best channels here on YouTube for covering Nintendo content, stated that it feels like Mario 64 in 2D, and I guess because that game is a lot about exploring and seeing different things and figuring out exactly what you need to do in order to get the star for the area. So you guys are checking out that new gameplay here. But another thing that we've seen here with Yoshi is that it's actually been the first game to dethrone Pokemon Pokopia in 2 months. Pokemon Pokopia has had a stranglehold on the top best-selling eShop charts for the Nintendo Switch 2. Pretty much Pokemon Pokopia has beat out any other game that has came out after that. But now Yoshi the Mysterious Book is the new #1 once the preloads went live. So there's going to be a good bulk of people probably picking up Yoshi and the Mysterious Book because Pokemon Pokopia is still selling very well. It's sold over 4 million units plus at this point on an install base of about 20 million. For a Pokemon spinoff, that is incredibly good. So if you look at the full list here, shout outs to Stealth over on Twitter. He rounded everything up. And Pokemon Pokopia #2, but Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, that's in at #3, so that's not bad when it comes to a start, and it's a good port of the game based on what I've seen. Mario Kart World still selling, Pokemon Legends ZA, a lot of the evergreens, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, all of that. So interesting to see a good mix of third-party and first-party games throughout the whole top 30. It's great to see stuff like Metroid Prime 4. I think that made it back into the top 30. It left the top 30, then made it back in. So I think Nintendo's going to have a pretty good range of games, first and third party wise. Not always going to get all of the biggest AAA titles right there at the launch, but you're going to have a lot of games that fit well with the system when it comes to hybrid type of play. And there's going to be a lot of people playing a lot of different types of games, from Yoshi to Pokemon to Indiana Jones, Mario Kart, Donkey Kong. There's all sorts of stuff, and it's going to get better. There's going to be more new games coming up. Star Fox is probably going to shoot up to #1 on the charts when that comes out. We have to see about Splatoon Raiders. That's probably going to be up there in the top sales charts. Definitely in Japan, it'll probably be #1 there. So there's still a lot of cool stuff coming out. And then there's going to be the second half of the year where we're going to see what's happening with that. So we should probably get that Ocarina of Time remake. So that should be happening. And we'll see how big that game's going to be, because that's an all-time legendary game. So it's going to be exciting exactly how in-depth they go with that remake or not. So interesting nonetheless. So what do you guys think when it comes to the Yoshi and the Mysterious Book? We got the new footage, in addition to it dethroning Pokemon Pokopia, which, I'll be honest here, I didn't know if it was going to do that. I didn't know how excited people are going to be for Yoshi. I know Yoshi is definitely a popular series. It's not something that sells like 10 million units plus or anything, but it sells multiple millions between the Wii U game and the Nintendo Switch game. Those have sold millions upon millions of copies for gamers out there. So it does make sense that Yoshi the Mysterious Book does have an initial built-in base. We're going to have to wait for the reviews and kind of see how the rest of the game works out, because it's an interesting game. Yoshi can't die, nor can he take any damage. So how are they going to make things interesting enough along the path, along the whole way of the book? It's such a weird but also fascinating game. They also announced that there's some demo kiosks here in the US and I think in Canada where you could potentially play the game. I played it at Best Buy the other day and I thought it was okay, but I need to get some more time with it, because once again, it is a discovery and exploration game, so it's not necessarily the best setting for that style of game. So we'll see how it works out when the game launches. It's coming out next week. So what do you guys think about Yoshi the Mysterious Book dethroning Pokemon Pokopia? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the next topic here. Let's talk about Nintendo going for the PlayStation 2 record, it seems. There is a rumor, and if the rumor is correct, it looks like Nintendo will finally be returning to India with the launch of the Nintendo Switch 1. Not the Switch 2, the Switch 1. So according to a report from Day Zero Media, Nintendo is looking to make a comeback in India. The company has largely been absent from the country in recent years. Although consoles have been available via the gray market, Nintendo itself hasn't had an official presence. Dark Zero Media has heard from multiple sources that the original Nintendo Switch is finally launching in India. The console is reportedly launching in the region early next year for around 20,000 rupees, and apparently Reddington is handling the distribution. For the time being, Nintendo has not confirmed these details. If it's for 20,000 rupees, you need to bundle it with The Legend of Zelda. You just have to do that. I think that there needs to be a Zelda Breath of the Wild bundle immediately, since it's going to go for around 20,000 rupees if that's correct. Now, seemingly this would be for the non-OLED model. We're also not hearing anything regarding Switch 2 at the time. You have to go back to the Wii and DS era for Nintendo's last attempt at cracking the Indian market. The company saw its products released through Samurai India and its partnership with HCL Info Systems. Nintendo's attempts to expand in India would be welcome, but might also be disappointing for fans. Nintendo Switch would be arriving 10 years later than other regions, and it's unclear if and when the country would see the release of Switch 2. So, of course, more information is still coming out with that. But I hope that they do. Nintendo should expand to any region that they can. There's probably reasons why they're not in that region. I'm guessing that it's hard to even make a profit based on how things are, shipping and things like that, and just everything when it comes to the economics. A lot of my family were from Nigeria, and they do not officially support it there, so people have to import and get it through a gray market as well. So I understand the struggle when it comes to getting certain products and items when you're in different countries. So hopefully they can get it there and all set up. And yeah, 10 years later, that's a little bit rough to deal with, but hopefully if this goes well, then the Nintendo Switch 2 can release in a timely fashion and not 10 years later when it comes to it being in India. So what do you guys think about this when it comes to everything that we talked about? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.